strength of this team has been, getting back to neutral between games. You've had a lot of different outcomes throughout this season and this group, even before you got here. What'd you kind of just notice today as you guys got back together and got ready for Game 4?
Just a concentrated effort at establishing, what went wrong and what we need to do to fix it. Obviously, that hasn't been the character or display of the team, through the season and playoffs, and give them credit. They, established from jump how they were going to play, and we didn't do a enough job responding to it. But looking forward to going back and having a chance to do that in Game 4.
Alex, how does the margin of the defeat affect the way you go into Game 4?
If anything, it just hurts your pride a little bit. They all count for one. That's the famous saying in the playoffs. Whether you win by 1 or lose by 40, it's one in the column for whatever team comes out on top. But obviously, just as competitors, like you don't want to lose games, but especially in that fashion. So, there's always a little bit of pride on the line. When you go out and the score is that lopsided.
Can the issues be fixed?
Yeah, I don't think the issues are anything alarming. I think they were playing for their lives, and we didn't come out with the right mindset. And even then, we had a chance to, course correct, and we didn't do it quick enough. So, like I said, give them credit. Like they played really well, and they showed, the type of fight that they have to be a good team and to be in the Western Conference Finals.
AC, yesterday was the first time you guys lost the turnover battle all postseason. That could be an anomaly, but assuming they're coming with different energy and can manage to close that gap during this series, like what are some of the other avenues they're supposed to use to win?
Yeah, I think we just played a little out of character. I think that they played really well, and I think that we played probably not our best, which is why the numbers are lopsided, the score is lopsided. Looking forward to have an opportunity to go out there and be who we are rather than let them dictate terms the whole game.
Mark talked yesterday about how he's seen Chet sort of continue to grow as the playoffs have gone on, just given the amount of time he missed in the regular season. What are some of the ways you've seen him sort of settle in these last few weeks?
Yeah, honestly, I think the playoffs have helped him get back to a level of norm that, I don't know if he could necessarily push himself to in that last month and a half of regular season. And you also have to remember, like dude broke his hip. Like at some point in this year, he wasn't walking. And now he's, getting back to double doubles and affecting shots at the rim and stretching the floor for us. So I think just the ability to compete for him is the biggest thing. Like he's a really competitive person. He holds himself to a high standard. And I think that the postseason, pushes you to a level that you have to play at. So I think it's been good for him to be able to kind of necessarily not put it on himself and have, the outside circumstances help him get to that last little stretch.
Alex, what's Shai's approach in these moments after hitting some adversity?
Yeah, he's a pretty consistent guy. Whether we've won by 40 in the postseason, lost by 40 in the postseason, he shows up with the same mindset, same attitude that we're gonna figure out a way to get the job done. Whether it takes him scoring 40 or him being in the ball and being disruptive on defense, but he's a calming force for our team just because he is so consistent.
When Anthony Edwards is aggressive and going downhill, as he has been lately, how does that affect your defense? How do you adjust?
Yeah, it's a 5-person job. Like any, all-star, all-NBA player in the league, there's not one person that's going to go out there and, shut them down for the whole game. We got to make sure that we're, early, we're anticipatory, we're in the spots we're supposed to be before he starts attacking, because he is a really good player and he's strong and athletic. And if he gets to the spots necessarily, before we're ready, then it's usually in his favor.
It seemed like
Was there a difference between the level of physicality that was allowed for you guys defensively in the first 2 games as opposed to last night?
I don't know. That's kind of a subjective question. For me, I try to go out there and play the same way every night, whether the refs call it or not. That's kind of up to them.
When it comes to Anthony Edwards, a quick start like he did in the first quarter, game 3, how contagious is that for the rest of his teammates, and how crucial is it in the sense of getting out to a quick start, but also limiting, those type of opportunities for him?
Yeah, I mean, even with their quick start, I think we had a chance, like I said, to course correct, and it was a 1 or 2 possession game, even 5-6 minutes into the game, and we didn't do the correct things that we needed to do to put ourselves in a position to have a chance to like withstand that, or sustain that, and I think that whether that's mental fatigue or physical fatigue, or if it was just us not having our best last night, we got to make sure that we look ourselves in the mirror and make sure that we correct any of that if we want to have a chance to win the next game.
Alex, you said the issues were not alarming. Can you explain what that means and what is the messaging then? If not that.
Yeah, I mean, if maybe that's not the correct phrasing, but anytime you lose in that fashion, it should alarm you. Just for the fact that you didn't play how you're supposed to play, and the other team played really good. Like that, it's not a lack of respect for the Timberwolves. It's not a lack of respect for how hard they play and how good they are. I think the not alarming part was more about things that we can control. We didn't control last game, whereas we did in the first 2 games. And I think when you look at it through that lens, it presents itself in a way that, you don't need to hit an emergency button, but you do need to course correct and get back to who you are, or else you will be in a bad spot.
Anyone else?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Cason, as you guys got together this morning, what's sort of the takeaway from yesterday and things y'all will need to do better tomorrow?
We got to play harder, be a better team. We didn't play to our standard last night.
How much of that was just kind of initial positioning on every possession? It seemed like they got their catches deeper, and a lot of your stuff was forced to be out higher on the floor, and just the physicality at the start of possessions.
Yeah, they just play harder than us the whole game. We didn't match their physicality. We didn't have any force offensively or defensively, so we got the result.
Was there a play or sequence of plays that you saw and felt like that was maybe the point where things got out of hand?
The whole game, they started out with more juice than we had. We didn't have it.
Today, so you say physicality and force. If that gets fixed, do you win tomorrow night? Like, what is it? Just that simple?
It was obvious that we didn't play the way we usually play. They got to the rim, they got passes, like they had whatever they wanted. They were the more aggressive team.
Yes, obviously yesterday was the first time we got off the turnover battle all playoffs. I know you guys talk about not necessarily focusing on turnovers, but that's the way you guys have won the games in the series. I mean, if you don't do that, like what are the ways you guys are supposed to?
Like you said, we haven't been in that situation many times, but we could, like throughout the game, like we're playing to our standard and doing the things that we usually do. If we don't win one section, we'll win another. That wasn't the case last night, though.
Does it make it more difficult, or does it make it easier to look ahead to Game 4 based on it that you lost by 40 points in Game 3? Does the margin matter?
The margin doesn't matter. It's a loss, no matter how much we lose by. But watching film and seeing the way that we lost definitely give us a little edge for tomorrow.
What could you guys have done schematically on either side of the floor to at least mitigate some of the difference in energy that you guys had? Yes, sir.
I don't think it was a scheme. I don't think we were as locked in on it. We didn't have the fight for it. We didn't come out and fight. So it doesn't matter if our scheme is great or not. If we don't come and fight, then it doesn't matter.
Jason, you guys obviously don't like how you play, but did they feel like a different team with their fight and their energy?
They amped it up a little bit. We eased into the game, and they hit first and they kept hitting. So you just gotta do better and be who we are, and not let them dictate the game.
Anything else?
Thanks, Casey. Mark, you guys have made a habit of getting back to neutral. Would you notice just about the group as you guys got back together today and kind of the clarity that you all had moving into tomorrow?
Yeah, they were great today. They always are. We do a great job of that day to day, not overreacting to the emotion of the outcome. Certainly want to react to what we can learn from it, but they were in good spirits and we're like they always are.
Mark, without explicitly saying so, Cason and AC were just up here talking about the effort in the way yesterday's game unraveled, and they almost made it sound like an anomaly. Is that sort of the belief around the team right now?
No, I wouldn't say that. I think it's every game's different, and Minnesota outplayed us thoroughly last night in every area of the game, and deserved to win clearly, and that's why they won in the fashion that they did. But we're not going to label it anything. We need to learn from it, and then move into Game 4 and work to be a better team in that game. But we're not trying to label it one thing or another. We're just trying to take the lessons from it and apply them forward.
Coach, I know you always reference that there's no carryover from one game to the next, but is there any natural human emotion that when you get beat the way you did last night, that there is a hit to the ego that could motivate or provide some sort of help?
I don't know. I think, the series provide different challenges for your team. I think the Denver series is a good example of that. We navigated that series. There were a lot of ups and downs. There were a lot of different challenges. There were a lot of different things we had to overcome. We were taken to the limit in a lot of ways, and we were a better team at the end of that series as a result of those challenges. And that's our challenge now. That's not a guarantee. But our challenge now is to, taste our blood a little bit from last night's game, take the relevant lessons from that, but then let it go and move into Game 4 and be the best team we could be and throw our best punch in Game 4.
Like a vampire reference?
No, I mean, it's competition. You're going to taste your own blood sometimes, and it's not even the worst thing for you. And we've had a great year. We haven't had a lot of games like that, but the team's always done a great job of responding to the emotion of any game, including wins. So that's our challenge right now. But again, it's not guaranteed. We have to go make that happen if we want it to happen.
Post getting kind of piggybacking off the Denver series. I mean, you faced, you guys faced a really important Game 4, a really important Game 5. You guys passed, those tests. So what can we take from, actually being down in the fourth quarter of both of those games, coming back, winning both of those games, and kind of apply it to what you guys are facing in Game 4?
Yeah, these series, they make you more confident, when you clear your hurdles, and they build your mettle when you struggle or when you face adversity. And as long as you're viewing those experiences as opportunities to forge forward, they can be positive experiences for you. You can use any experience, good or bad, to create momentum. And we've tried to do that. We've tried to make a habit of that over time, to the point where hopefully it's a habit, a psychological habit that we have now. But you're only as good as you are in the next moment, and so none of that stuff counts towards the moment we're in right now. We have to go do it. We have to go play better and compete harder and do all the things that are going to be required of us to win Game 4.
Mark, I know you switched it up to start the second half yesterday, and I know you're confident in the body of work that iHeart and Chet have together, but is that something you're maybe revisiting looking ahead to Game 4 in terms of starting though?
I mean, I always, at the end of the day, we keep everything fluid for a reason, so that it's not these like seismic events when we change a lineup at any point in time. We change the starting lineup during the season. We change the starting lineup coming out of halftime. We change the rotation almost nightly in the regular season and in the playoffs. And we try to normalize that for situations where we think we could be opportunistic. And if we think there's an opportunity in any part of the rotation to give ourselves a better chance to win in a playoff game, we're going to do it. So, I would just say that's in the water at this point. It's not like it's nothing new, I don't think, for our guys, especially.
Coach, in the Denver series, you were able to give Nikola Jokic some different looks. You had Alex go in there. Do you have just as many options with Anthony Edwards once he gets aggressive?
I mean, last night was obviously his best game. He was great last night. He played with great tempo and force, and the shot making was impressive, and he was excellent. So we did a great job on him in Game 1. did a pretty good job on him in game 2. I thought he had 32, but he worked hard for them. He did it on 26 shots, had to exert a lot of energy to get it. A lot of those were, on our terms, at least the way we see them. Last night was the opposite. Last night was certainly on his terms, and he deserves credit for that. I think the lesson from the Denver series is, as good as a job as we did on Jokic, at times he had 2 40-point games. It's like, you play these really good players, you're not just like holding them down the entire time. And so you have to make decisions of whether to stick with things and do them better or whether to adjust. And we'll have both ready for every player and every team, including Edwards in Minnesota. How we deploy that and when, we'll see. But these are great players. You're not like keeping them down the whole time. We got to get a little bit more on track with him the way we were in the first 2 games.
None of these 3 games have been close down the stretch. Does that sort of, 3 games into the series, are you still kind of in the feeling out stages as far as, liking those maybe crunch time minutes against each other?
It's just how things unfolded. It's just another example of how all these series are different. All the games are different. The Denver series was really, really tight in a lot of those games. This series has opened up a little bit more. But that's in no way predictive of game 4. Game 4 is completely unwritten and will have its own life. And, we just want to try to be the better team in that game.
Anybody else?
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Yep.